Is two-step equations. So last time was one-step equations. This is like the same thing, but one more step. Yes? Okay, so we want to start with identifying what operations are being performed on the variable. And we have our order of operations. Remember, sometimes people like PEMDAS instead of GEMDAS. So whatever you like better. Okay, so number one is negative 2x plus 8 equals 24. So the first 1 and 2, we're not actually solving anything. We just want to list what's happening to the variable. So we only care about the side where the variable is. So I don't care about what's happening there. I only care about the left side because that's where my x is. So if we notice here, the things that are happening, we have this 2, this negative 2. So we have multiply by negative 2. And then the other thing that's happening on this side of the equation is we are adding 8. So for 1 and 2, I don't care for you to solve it. I just want you to recognize what's happening, right? So we only care about the side of the equation that the x is on, and then we notify what things. And here's a hint, there's going to be 2 of them because it's two-step equations, yeah? Okay, for number 2, we have 10 equals 4 plus b over 3. So we only care about the right side of the equation on this one because this is where the variable is. This is where b is. So I don't care what's happening on the left. And I want you to write down the 2 things that are happening to this b. So I'm going to walk around and check. All right, so many of you have correctly identified. We have dividing, so we have divide by 3 right here. This fraction sign is the same thing as divide, right? So if I have a fraction, it's pretty much saying division. And then this 4 is positive. So even though it's on the other side, even though it's not b over 3 plus 4, you can think of it as like plus 4 plus b over 3, right? So we're still adding 4. All right, so that was 1 and 2. Now for 3, we're actually going to solve it, right? Okay, so for 3, we have 3 equals k over 4 plus 5. All right, so we need to think about the steps that are happening, right? So again, we're only looking at the right side. We have divide by 4 and add 5. And so the trick that we did last class, and we're doing this class too, or last lesson, is we're doing order of operations, PEMDAS, but we're doing them in reverse, right? We need the inverse. So even though normally we start with parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, and end with add, subtract, now whatever we're going to do it in reverse. So we're actually going to do the inverse of adding 5. So it's negative 5, and then we're going to times by 4. So we do the opposite, and then we do it in opposite order. So it seems confusing, but once you do it, you'll like realize that you're doing it without knowing like that you were doing it in reverse order. So the first thing we're going to do is minus 5 from both sides. We want to move everything away from the right side because we want k by itself. So this 5, we're going to move it over to the other side, so we subtract it. This cancels out, and then 3 minus 5 is negative 2 equals k over 4. So we just did one step of our two-step equations. And then we divided by 4, so now we're going to times by 4. So negative 2 times 4 is negative 8, and this is our final answer. So k equals negative 8. So we started with this equation here. We ended with negative 8 equals k. And you always want to check your answer, right? So if I go back to the beginning, I put in negative 8 for k. And we want to make sure this equals 3. So negative 8 divided by 4 is negative 2. Negative 2 plus 5 equals 3. So we got it right. So make sure you check it, or else you might make a silly mistake on the check, and then it'll be wrong, and then you'll have to do it again, and you'll be so annoyed, and it'll just be a bad time. All right, let's do 4 and 5 on, well, let's write them down first, and then you can try them. Okay, so make sure you're trying to check it too. So for 4, we have 8 minus 3x equals 17. And for 5, we have 10 minus y over 4 equals 7. So let's do 4 together, and then you can do 5 on your own. So I like to draw my line. This is a positive 8, and we need to move it over, so we're going to do minus 8 on both sides. And then we get negative 3x equals 17 minus 8 is 9. And then this is, some people really hate when this is negative. So we were multiplying by negative 3, so we're going to divide by negative 3. So we're doing the opposite. This cancels out. We get x equals 9 divided by negative 3. Remember, when it's divided by a negative number, you get a negative. So it should be negative 3. Okay, I actually want to go over what happens if you do like the wrong order, right? So we want to do it in the reverse PEMDAS, but you can still get it correct if you do it in the wrong order. You just have to remember some certain rules. So let's go back to 3, right? So 3 equals k over 4 plus 5. So what if I didn't want to move the 5 first? What if I wanted to multiply by 4? So you can multiply by 4 first, but when we're adding and subtracting, you only do it once. Like on either side just once. When you're multiplying and dividing, you have to do it to every single number. So if I wanted to multiply by 4, I have to do it to every single thing, so I have to do it to the 5 as well. So I'd get 3 times 4 is 12 equals, this will cancel k plus 20, and then I could move the 20 over. So minus 20, and I get negative 8 again. So you can do stuff in the wrong order, but you have to be careful. Remember, when you multiply by every single number. Same with dividing. Okay, so let's go back to 4 and check it. So we have 8 minus 3 times negative 3. We get 8 minus negative 9. 2 negatives turn into a positive, and that is 17. So we did it correctly. So try 5 on your own. All right, so the first thing we do is we minus 10. So some people got confused. Remember, if there's no sign there, then it's positive. So we have to do the opposite, the inverse, which is minus. So we're left with negative y over 4. Also, people forget this negative right here. So the negative still stays. 7 minus 10 is negative 3. And then we're going to multiply. This one's tricky too because this is negative. So what you could do right here is you could actually just make them both positive. Right? Because if they're both negative, it's like the same thing. Or you can multiply by negative 4. So you could put that negative sign down there almost. And so we have y equals negative 3 times negative 4 is positive 12. And you always want to go back and check. So we have 10 minus 12 over 4, which is 10 minus 3, which is 7. Well, 7 with the check mark. So you could tell if you had put negative 12 by accident, you would have gotten 10 minus negative 12 over 4, and that would have gotten you 13, which is wrong. So make sure you're always checking your answer, and I'll let you know. Okay, one more, and then we're done with this. Okay. Negative 8 equals 5x minus 23. So try this one on your own. All right, I see lots of people with it. So remember, our x is on the right side, so we're going to move everything to the left, like the song. So we did minus 23, so we're going to add 23. We're going to do our inverse. Negative 8 plus 23 is 15 equals 5x. And then remember, when we have a number next to a letter, that's the same thing as multiplying, right? So the opposite of multiplying is dividing. We're going to divide by 5. That cancels out. We get x equals 3. And we can always plug it back in to check. 5 times 3 minus 23, so we get 15 minus 23 equals negative 8. All right, so this is two-step equations. Remember, you're doing 2 steps, right? That's right in the name of it. Last unit was 1-step equation. This is 2-step equation, and then your final answer should be some letter equals some value. So good luck.